Welcome to my views and news Friday's second video. Firstly, Ethiopian Airlines has suspended crew of a flight who reportedly fell asleep and the plane was put on autopilot. It kept on hovering over the airport, Addis Ababa airport, for around 25 minutes. What happened on the 15th of August? Second news story is from Bahirdar prison, Sabata Myth prison. 3 days ago, I reported that Fano fighters were going on hunger strike in this prison. What is happening now there in Sabata Myth prison? Reportedly, Fano fighters in this prison, they have been shifted to a clinic, and tomorrow hundreds could go on hunger strike. Thirdly, a very disturbing and painful news story from Tigray. Lucy Casa a few hours ago wrote an article about the plight of women in Tigray who are selling their bodies. Sex work is becoming rampant. Not a revelation for me, because a few weeks ago I got in touch with an activist from Tigray. He shared the same thing with me. I didn't share it. I thought it needed further verification. But today Lucy came out with a new story, and we'll have a detailed look at what she's saying. Last viewers, Oromo Liberation Army spokesperson, one of the spokespersons, contacted me just a few hours ago about a video which I did today, and in that video we discussed OLA's offer of truce and a looming war in Tigray. Is there any connection between the truce and upcoming, if it happened, war in Tigray? The spokesperson contacted me with OLA's position about truce. What did he say? We'll have a detailed look at what he said. It's my responsibility to share the position of OLA and any other party which feels that the party is aggrieved party. Yes, it is their right that their position should be shared on this channel as well. Firstly, viewers, Ethiopian Airlines has suspended the crew of a flight which reportedly, allegedly fell asleep during a flight from Khartoum, Sudan to Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital. On the 15th of August, an Ethiopian Airlines flight of Boeing aircraft, Boeing ET-343, left Khartoum airport in Sudan. The flight entered Ethiopian airspace, and when it reached Addis Ababa, it kept on hovering over Addis Ababa, over the airport. Its altitude did not decrease. Whenever flights near airport, obviously their altitude gradually declines because they get ready for landing. But the flight kept on hovering over the airport for around 25 minutes. And before that, when the flight departed Khartoum, suddenly communication was cut off with the flight, with the pilots on board, and it remained cut off for some time. The flight was over Addis Ababa. It was not landing at the airport. Communication was cut off. So it was a serious situation. Aviation Herald is a magazine which reported. It claimed that actually pilots went asleep. They fell asleep. They went to sleep, and they put the plane on autopilot when the plane departed Khartoum, then they fell asleep. Later, somehow an emergency alarm woke them up. They got up and the flight at last landed safely in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. So today, Ethiopian Airlines took action. It suspended the crew of this flight. The airlines says that investigation is underway. Appropriate corrective measures will be taken. It's a very alarming incident that lives of hundreds of people on board this flight were endangered because of carelessness, because of this criminal negligence of these pilots of ET343. Ethiopian Airlines is earning a lot, unlike other airlines in Africa like Kenyan Airlines, which is in loss. But Ethiopian Airlines is earning for Ethiopia, and one of the biggest airlines, largest airlines in Africa. It's a serious issue which must be thoroughly investigated. What happened? Are there such pilots, such captains who can go to sleep and put the plane on autopilot? Can it happen? I mean, it's for me, it's unimaginable. But let's see, will the company conduct any fair investigation? Will it share the finding of the investigation with the people? That remains to be seen. Crew has been suspended. Secondly, viewers, the second news story is from Bahirdar. We know that in a prison, Sabatamit prison of Bahirdar, several Fano fighters have been in prison for days, for weeks rather. They were granted bail a few days ago, but they were not released because some Ethiopian federal forces, they were against their release. They encircled the prison. They were making preparation to re-arrest these Fano fighters if they were released. So they were not released, and we saw tension outside Sabatamit prison between security officials and family members, relatives of these Fano fighters. Fano fighters are still in this prison, and 3 days ago they announced to go on hunger strike. And yes, they started hunger strike 3 days ago. Today is day 3 of their hunger strike, and reportedly several Fano fighters were shifted to a clinic inside Sabatamit prison because their health condition was deteriorating. They refused liquids as well, they refused food as well, so that is why they were shifted to a clinic in the prison. And reportedly from Saturday, hundreds if not thousands of prisoners are going to go on hunger strike. It has been announced reportedly by some prisoners that from Saturday they'll go on hunger strike. We'll update you tomorrow if there is a mass hunger strike at Sabatamit prison of Bahirdar. Thousands of Fano fighters have been arrested in recent months since Ethiopian federal government, Amhara regional government launched a crackdown against Fano fighters, Fano commanders. Thousands are in detention in different prisons in Amhara region, outside Amhara region as well. Thirdly, viewers, a very disturbing news story from Tigray. Lucy Casa, who has reported a lot on the plight of women who suffered during Tigray conflict, today wrote something for a newspaper. And today's her article is about Tigray, women of Tigray. Tigrayan women suffered a lot. Since the start of this conflict, they have been suffering. According to Tigray regional government, thousands were raped. and they are still suffering psychological effect of the rape incidents, physical aspect as well, undergoing treatments, and keeping in view there is shortage of food, shortage of medicine, shortage of medical equipment. You can imagine what they're going through. Their suffering continues. Though now Tigray is under TPLF-led Tigray government control, still their suffering continues. Now they have been forced to sell their bodies. When I read this article, it isn't a revelation for me because a few days ago I learned about this development that it is happening in Tigray. But still, when Lucy confirmed it through her sources, it was again a shock for me. An eye-opener it should be for entire Ethiopia, for entire international community as well. If someone has been forced to adopt prostitution as a profession, it is a slap in the face of entire Ethiopia, I would say. Ethiopian government, Tigray regional government as well, international community too. You could not help these poor, innocent Tigrayan girls and women, and now they are selling their bodies. Can there be a more devastating development in Tigray? I think it should be an eye-opener. If it is happening in Tigray today, tomorrow it can happen in other parts of Ethiopia as well. People have their daughters, their mothers. They should have respect for women. Remember what was happening in Tigray last year. Then the destruction which was happening in Tigray was seen in Amhara, Afar regions. I am warning because I have been seeing this war since its start. You ignore a catastrophe, then the catastrophe engulfs the entire nation. These poor Tigrayan girls and women are not combatants. They are civilians. They need your help, your support as Ethiopians. Whether you are from Oromia, from Somali, from Afar, from Amhara, you should support these women of Tigray. Otherwise, this catastrophe will spread in entire Ethiopia. Lastly, viewers, an OLA spokesperson contacted me after the video which I did a few hours ago. In that video, we discussed OLA's offer of truce and we analyzed OLA's offer of truce and looming war in Tigray. OLA spokesperson contacted me and he said, Sajid, firstly, truce does not, it is not linked to what could happen in Tigray. He said, OLA's alliance with TDF is intact. It has not collapsed. Unequivocally, he made it clear, firstly. Secondly, he said that this truce was offered because people are dying of hunger in Oromia. It is happening. And people ask questions. They say, you are fighting here while we are dying. So what are you doing for us? Thirdly, he said, OLA is of this view that Ethiopian government will not agree to this truce. OLA knows it. And that is why OLA proposed establishment of a humanitarian corridor as well, that if fighting goes on, at least a corridor should be established for provision of food to the people who are dying of hunger in Oromia. And fourthly, I then asked a question that does this truce apply to only drought affected areas or entire Oromia? He said only to drought affected areas. So officially, to me, OLA denied any understanding with Ethiopian federal government. And OLA reiterated its military alliance with Tigray Defense Force. Government has not responded to OLA's offer of truce so far. But we'll have to see what is happening on the ground. Will fighting intensify on the ground? Will federal forces withdraw from their front lines toward their bases? So it will take some time for us to be sure what is happening in Oromia. Are ENDF troops being relocated from Oromia to other parts of Ethiopia? That remains to be seen. I shared what OLA shared with me as their official position. In coming videos, we'll analyze OLA's position further as we get to know more from the ground. Thank you for watching.